The components of our Achievement for All plan that make me most excited are the elements that relate to how we engage students, collaborative problem-solving activities, to play those solutions out. We've worked to really begin to meet the needs of all diverse learners. When we created the 21st century model of change, we talked largely about what students should gain from elementary, middle school, high school education, and how that helps them transition into the world of work or post-secondary education. Collaboration, communication, again, the global emphasis. And programs like the International Baccalaureate program help develop those skills and attributes in our students.
No one else in Montana is doing this right now. I think it is amazing that Missoula County Public Schools has committed to a K-12 IB system. And I think it's amazing as we think about what that means for the student. As our students enter into elementary, go through middle, all the way up into our diploma program in high school, they really have this beautiful, seamless learning experience that is solely based on best practices around inquiry.
It's very exciting to me personally to think that I'm taking a class that someone in another country is taking, and then we all get to take this test and say, okay, you know, someone from Montana is working just as hard and is being exposed to the same ideas as someone else. And I think that's just very exciting for someone who grew up in Missoula her entire life and was never exposed to any really diverse ideas.
I always move towards the idea that perspective is essential for students to be able to understand their world. And to me, I think that's the most invaluable part of what the IB curriculum can offer. I think it gives us a way to see how other cultures, how other communities around the world address this very same problems that we do.
And it's really exciting to see that what I'm doing here in Big Sky High School in Missoula, Montana, aligns with something that they may be doing in Austria or China or in Saudi Arabia.
And to have that reinforced through professional development in the IB community was wonderful for me, and it went a long way for me to be able to deliver similar ideas or concepts or practices to students.
We have people from around the nation come to Missoula and facilitate 3 days of rigorous learning and professional development, and our teachers are coming together in this collaborative way from across the district to talk about best instructional practices.
I don't just use its teaching practices within my IB classes. I use it in my traditional history classes. I get a greater response, higher level of engagement from my U.S. history students, just because of the way the classes are framed.
They have command terms for assessment. You know, if we say analyze or if we say explain, it means a very specific thing. It just created a universal language around that. You know, I think the big thing with IB is most of this is best practice. And so you just get to look at it through that lens of like, is what I'm doing best practice, no matter what class I'm teaching.
I think it's a true testament to our staff building wide on that worldview, that ability to teach tolerance throughout all of the different curricular areas that we have here in Hellgate, and their ability to link students to different programs and extracurricular activities, I think is very much an element of IB philosophy that our staff embraces.
It's a different type of student than I've seen in years past. They're more like, what am I excited about and what am I passionate about and how do I shape my education to meet that goal, rather than like, how do I look really good and what will get me into the right school. It's a little bit of a different shift.
You don't have as many students that just want that A, that just want those points. Students aren't satisfied with that. They need to be pushed and they want to come away from a class with a new set of skills.
Ça va être chased. Mais comme il a chassé, he had chased. Et puis les terminaisons.
For us, it starts to be that a switch is flipped on in history class, that a light bulb goes on in my class, or we read an article about animals and how they breathe and it flips a light switch on for them in science classes. And so yeah, I guess for me that moment of aha, or I have more questions or tell me more, you start to get addicted to that from students, and it drives how you create your activities, what content you choose.
These guys right here, larval mayfly, dragonflies, caddisflies, are the most sensitive macroinvertebrates that are in the river.
My teaching style has changed. The content of the course is enormous. I gave myself permission to be honest with the kids that this course is a challenge to me as well as you. And if we're shoulder to shoulder in this experience, it'll probably be a lot better for everyone in this room.
What I see is teachers that are coming in more enthusiastic, but also re-engaging with material that for some of them may have become too stale or outdated, and they're really looking at things in a new light.
I think a lot about the way that IB was developed at Big Sky High School, because we were allowed to explore it and to ask questions and to go to trainings and to talk to people and have people come in. You know, that was really indicative to me of exactly what actually an IB World School is. We can approach things to students, not here's what you need to know and here's the decision you need to make, but here's some opportunities. What questions do you have? Let's start to explore this together.
My work ethic and my discipline and my time management skills have improved pretty drastically, actually. There's a big reflection component in the program, in the IB program. I think that's an immensely helpful part, that you sort of reflect on your own work and reflect on even how the assignments can be improved or how the teacher can improve themselves. That was a huge difference, really, to other classes.
Just like the study groups you have outside of school, because of this super close community you've created with the other people in the program.
Dialogue-based or socially constructed learning that is a pedagogical structure of IB, I think is something that I really appreciate, and is allowed me to understand the value of community as a way for not students to learn from teachers, but from students to learn from students.
I think it helped me get into the college that I'm going to, which is Barnard in New York City. And then I also think it just helped me become much more involved in my own education. It's more project-based than like my AP class was, and that involved a lot of kind of introspection and deciding how I wanted to be spending my time and what was the best way for me to be learning these things.
The skills that I saw my two older kids develop was all of the stuff that I learned very painfully in college and then in law school. How to think abstractly, how to analyze, how to tease out something, how to massage a concept. And they were getting some of this in high school to then use as building blocks for when they go out to college. So I think it's incumbent on us to be providing this to them. And a public high school is a fantastic place because everybody can go to a public high school, which is exactly the way it should be, I think.
The thing that makes IB classes different is the fact that the students all sign up to be in the class, and so you're with a group of students who are equally motivated to be in that class, and they want to participate in discussions and they want to learn, and so it makes the whole classroom environment a lot more inviting, and classes are more exciting because people actually want to be there and make the most out of their time.
IB classes are different because they go in depth a lot more versus other classes that focus on breadth. Just what comes to mind is my friends who are in AP English, they would read a book every 2 weeks and write an essay on it, and it was just kind of all this back to back. And then IB is more about kind of selecting a few of those books and really spending a lot of time with them and going in depth, and it's more about the skills that you kind of gain out of that learning experience rather than the actual information.
Students come to their learning in the form of questions, and their questions lead the direction that the learning is going to take. One of the requirements of an IB primary years program is that the kids keep a portfolio of their learning. Students have selected what they put into their portfolio. They try to capture the exciting parts of their unit of study. They write about it and reflect upon it. They think about how they were as a learner.
So early this week we had our ice cream social and open house. So the children were active participants in taking their parents through a day in the life of an inquirer. And I think these are kind of amazing. These are first and second grade children. I mean, I'm just stunned by some of the artwork, but then their wonderings are pretty powerful too. Creating the units of study is laborious because we try to take all of our ELA, all of our science, as much math, and integrate it in a meaningful way, not a contrived way, but in an honestly meaningful way.
You know, we don't stop doing this and now we start to talk about bears, or we stop talking about bears and we start talking about numbers, you know, but we're trying to tie it all in so that it's more fluid throughout the day. Kids are making better connections, so they're able to learn, I think, better, because now I have 7 things tied to that one piece of information, because it tied to the math I was doing, and it tied to the reading I was doing, and it tied to the book I was writing, and it, you know, so there's more connections, which means that learning is stronger and that information is going to be retrieved easier in the future because I've got more of those little dendrites growing.
The learner profile is the most amazing, powerful component of an IB program. And the reason is that we, from the very beginning, teach children these essential skills that carry them through to successful adulthood.
That was one of the initial things that I loved about it, was the learner profile. It doesn't matter if you're in music class or walking through the halls or sitting in your reading class.
Thank you.
All of the teachers are saying that you should be knowledgeable and balanced. And, you know, I don't have to be the smart kid all the time. You know, I need to be balanced, so I can do these things, and I can be caring, and this is what it means to be caring. We talk to our students about being good communicators, risk takers, open-minded, to be an individual thinker. IB really promotes that in its curriculums across all contents, which is awesome because it goes all the way through all of the programs, IB in PYP, MYP, and the IB at the high school.
The best part of it for the kids is the inquiry and the reflection on their own learning that they can turn around and do something with. That's what is exciting to me, is seeing how they take charge of their own learning. As a teacher and as a coordinator, I love the collaboration piece with my peers.
Students have become critical problem solvers. They are thinkers. They really place action into their learning. As they're completing a unit of study, they always reflect on the action that they could take either in their school, in their community, or in their world.
When you look at the high school diploma program and think about the CAS, the Creativity Action Service component, that's how we expect students to carry their education outside the 4 walls of the classroom. And again, I think it ties in very well with the elements of our 21st century model.
So you have your set of classes, but then you also have CAS outside of school that's constantly pushing you to kind of engage with your community, be doing an activity, reflecting on it.
My father's from India, so I play this North Indian classical percussion instrument called the tabla, and so I've been presenting that. I've presented that multiple times already at the public library, and I've had some private concerts, and I've been teaching a little bit.
There's all these other things like the EE, and I wrote mine about how Charles Manson kind of ruined the counterculture in America. It was kind of an unconventional essay, I guess, but it was really interesting to me, so I'm glad I did it.
One of the greatest benefits I had while I was in high school was having the opportunity to learn from some pretty incredible teachers who are really motivated and who want to see students succeed. And I think also a lot of the teachers weren't afraid to challenge student learning and expose us to new ideas and new concepts.
Students really wrestle with answers that may not be the final answer, but just a step in, multiple steps towards some type of conclusion. And there's something liberating about that. I think that students feel like they're not being just told the way it is, but they're getting to explore the way it is and then challenge that way.
They are amazed that they didn't get the right answer, because in science there's no really right answer. And so it offers a lot of room to then talk about how science really works in the real world. It's not the classic old canned lab. We're going to do this experiment, you're going to find these results, and this is what's going to happen in the end. I give them a very broad problem statement, and then they come up with ideas about what they really want to evaluate within a lab. And then they go do real science.
I am studying biochemistry at the University of Montana. A biochemistry student needs to be highly self-motivated and self-disciplined, especially during your first year of college, because it's a huge transition from high school to college, and the demands of time that IB required in my life during high school, by the time I got to college, I had great time management skills and great self-organization skills that I was able to be successful because of that.
You feel more confident going into college, you feel like a good writer, you feel like you know how to process information on a much higher level than you're used to.
To come out at the end of the 2 years and they can look back at their achievement, the self-efficacy, if you like, of what they've done is powerful for them. And I believe it gives them the confidence to try a third level institution after high school. You know, if it was easy, everybody would do it. But again, I think the satisfaction you'd feel at the completion of the endeavor would be worth it.